Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here, and in today's Red Dead Redemption 2 video, I'm going to be telling you guys 5 reasons why Micah Bell is the most hated character in Red Dead Redemption 2 and might be the most hated character that Rockstar has ever created. So even though I'm only bringing up 5 things in this video today, if you feel like you can contribute with your own, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. But anyways, let's jump into this and let's get it started. So the first reason why Micah Bell is one of the most hated characters in Red Dead Redemption 2 is he's a rat and he betrays the gang. But we already know that. We find out that Micah is the rat and started working with the Pinkertons. But it turns out that Micah's betrayal might have actually started way before that, even before we start the main plot of Red Dead Redemption 2. From Blackwater and beyond. And why do we know that? Well, there's a couple instances in game that sort of tip this off. So the first can actually be found in one of the newspapers that you can read in game. For me, it's the Saint Denis Times number 44. The article is, "Who are these Scarlet Meadow Bandits?" And it says, "Train robbery confounds lawmen, wagon block train." This is something that happens in chapter 2. So the article says, "Gertrude Bambach was knitting a hat for her niece when the train lurched to a stop and shouting commenced. I feared for my life," she said. "Passengers were subjected to a terrifying ordeal as the train was robbed near the Lemoyne border. Outlaws used an oil wagon on the tracks to cause the train to come to a stop. They then threatened the passengers to give up their belongings. It was then that lawmen, having been tipped off to the robbery, arrived on the scene and confronted the outlaws." That last line right there is important. Lawmen had been tipped off to the robbery and arrived on the scene. The only people that would know about this would have been members of the Vanderlyn gang. And since Micah turned out to be the rat all along, who's to say he wasn't ratting out the gang as early as chapter 2? That's something to think about. And it goes back even further than that. At his campsite, you can actually find a wanted poster for Dutch that happened after the Blackwater incident. So was Micah eventually going to turn in Dutch and claim the $1,000 reward for doing so? It seems that's the case. Why would you hold on to something like that as a souvenir if you weren't planning on using that as either a constant reminder or, would eventually use that to turn Dutch in? So that's something to keep in mind right there, that even as far as Blackwater, like what we don't see in the game, and as early as chapter 2, it looks like Micah was the rat. Which, I mean, if you didn't hate Micah enough, this is just another reason to not like this guy at all right there. He's a rat way longer than you probably anticipated him being. So that right there is reason number 1. Reason number 2, he is a giant racist. Now, you don't see this a lot in the main conversations that you can have with Micah, but you'll start to see this a whole lot more in sort of the casual gang conversations that you can have. So to people like Lenny, who's an African American, Charles, who's a Native American, and Javier, who's a Mexican, he is openly disgusted with them solely because they're not white. Here's a couple of examples of what he happens to say during camp conversations.
What's what you staring at?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, well, the devil punishes people who stare.
That's so.
Why don't you fuck off back to Mexico? Huh?
Why don't you fuck off back to hell?
You hit like you dress. All feminine. You're okay for a greaser.
You're okay. For an asshole.
Hey, Redskin, go fetch me something to eat.
Excuse me?
I said, fetch me something to eat.
Eat that.
You can write and everything. Unusual. For one of you.
One of who?
Oh, you know. Hoodlums.
You know, you got all the charm and personality of a fresh turd, Micah.
That's a good line. I must remember that.
So what a total jerk, right? And I love the fact that in a lot of the instances, Charles and Javier and Lenny, like, they do not tolerate that at all. And they like fight back. And in many instances, Arthur will be like, Micah, what is wrong with you for saying stuff like that? So it's pretty clear that he is a horrible human being. And it doesn't get much worse than a giant racist, especially when a lot of the members of your gang come from diverse backgrounds, like what we see with Lenny, Charles, Javier, and more. Reason number 3 to hate Micah, he is cruel to animals. So you see this a lot throughout the game, but one example that is prominent is the camp dog, whose name is Cain. So you might not have known that, but Cain is a stray Catahoula cur, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, who wanders into the Vanderlyn gang camp at Clemens Point. Now, Cain was named by Dutch. He loves attention and found a new family within the game. However, at some point during the transition from Lackey to Beaver Hollow, Cain went missing. In fact, Jack would go out searching for him until being told by an annoyed Micah Bell he ain't coming back. And further questioning from Arthur implies that Micah had something to do with the dog's disappearance and that he was likely killed by him. So Micah killed a dog, and he's cruel to the dog itself. Like you can see him around camp kicking him, which is obviously just horrible behavior. So like I said, Cain was a harmless character. All he did was add joy to the camp, being a friendly dog that you can interact with. And Micah just doesn't even like that. I mean, you can't be much worse of a human being if you don't like a dog that's just being nice to people. So that's another reason right there why Micah is just one of the worst human beings of all time. He doesn't like animals and he's cruel to him. And that's just not good. Reason number 4 today, even Micah's own family hates him. And that's saying something. You know when your own family dislikes you that you've done something wrong. So if you're in chapter 4, you can actually find a letter from Micah's brother Amos written to him. It can be found sort of on the edge of Shady Bell at this like abandoned fishing dock. It's titled Letter to Micah from Amos, San Francisco, California, 1899. It says, Micah, thank you for your letter. I suppose I am glad you ain't been hanged yet, but I'm going to have to insist upon you the fact that if I see you, won't be no one needs to hang you, as I will break your neck. It ain't that I don't love you, because I do, what with you being my family and all that we've done together, but it's that I am now a family man, as you know. I have daughters, as you know. I swore to the Lord Almighty that I would protect my daughters from all that is evil and wrong in this world, if only he would help me repent of all that I done when we was running together. And that means repenting of you, as you know, and washing my hands of you. Do not attempt to approach me. Do not attempt to visit me. Do not claim you know me. If I hear you're within 50 miles of me, I will come and find you, and you'll meet your maker and apologize to him on both our behalves for them things we did. None of this should come to you as news. I was shocked to receive your letter. Do not write to me again. Your brother, Amos Bell. Wow, so that's pretty shocking right there. And I wish we could actually see the letter that Micah wrote to Amos. I'm sure he was trying to like get the old gang back together or something along those lines. And that's not the only instance we hear of Micah and his family doing horrible things. At that same camp where you can find Dutch's wanted poster, you can also find a newspaper scrap regarding Micah. So it's Micah newspaper scrap 1877, which is about 22 years before the game starts. Father and son suspected. 2 men are wanted in connection with the murder of Roscoe and Jean Briggs of Crawford County, Ohio. The rancher and his wife were found hanging from the beams of their hay barn with their throats slit. The suspects are believed to be one Micah Bell, age 38, and his son, also Micah Bell, age 17. Locals say the 2 men had found temporary work at the ranch a few days earlier. The sheriff has issued a bounty of $10 for their capture, dead or alive. So in case you're wondering which Micah Bell is the one we experience in game, that would be the age 17 version here. Again, that takes place in 1877, 22 years before our game takes place. But you can just see the horrible things that they did as a family, like murdering and stuff like that, and even their brother wants nothing to do with that anymore. So you know when your own family dislikes you, it's pretty bad, and I think that's exactly the case for Micah. And last but not least today, number 5, Micah is a creep, and I believe he's a pedophile too. So I know that last claim is very harsh, and you certainly have to be careful throwing that word around, but he exhibits very strange behavior. He creepily and forcefully flirts with almost every woman at camp and is implied to have sexually harassed Sadie when they first met. He also violently teases Jack when he's 4 years old and has been accused of killing an entire family except a little girl who escaped. And we get proof of this in the final mission of the game, American Venom, when you actually capture one of Micah's old gang members, Cleet. He brings up that Micah did things to a little girl that are just horrible. Take a listen to this.
Bad man, doing bad things. I tried to stop him from murdering that little girl. We fell out. Honest. Please, I'm one of the good guys. Hang him.
So I think that right there proves that Micah Bell is a worse person than you probably thought. I mean, as sadistic and psychotic as he is, this man has no standards whatsoever. So that right there is 5 reasons why Micah Bell is absolutely the worst and the most hated character in Red Dead Redemption 2. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know why or why not. If you did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily Red Dead Redemption 2 videos like this. With all the way, guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.